It's a little dark, so it's cold and it's wet here in Texas. The low's going to be in 40s tonight. Pretty sure it was in the 40s this morning. So I've been knee deep in my wife's Jeep and putting the van back to stock configuration. I got a few more things to do to it. It's scheduled to be picked up on Monday afternoon. So the younger generation that is breaking the mold, they really disappoint me and irritate me because I think they think that they're special. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think they think that they're the only generation who has looked around and go like, man, this is kind of fucked up. I go to work for 20, 30, 40 years and don't have two pennies to rub together when you're done. In the end, obviously, it sucks for some people, as in when they stop working. But I don't know what's happened because when I was growing up, I couldn't wait to go to work. I was not rich. My mom and dad were not rich. How's this? My dad wouldn't buy me Levi's. I wore Wranglers, and when I left the house, all I wore was Levi's. And then I was like, I don't like those no more. I went back to Wranglers, but you know, the generation I'm talking about, you're not the first generation to be like, man, this life shit sucks. But you are the first generation who's trying to break the mold. And you need to understand when you're gonna be fucking probably sucking high and titty on this because I'll give you an example. Most enlisted soldiers that get out of the Army, Air Force, get out of one of the services because the military sucks. It's terrible, taking up all my time. You know, going all over the place. Whatever, and that don't count going to war. All right, and then that don't count all the bullshit with the VA, healthcare, and everything. But when they get out because they don't like the military. And I can't count the number of them that I have come across since I've retired that regret getting out. Because when they turn, if you join when you're 18 and they had done 20 years, they would have a retirement of some kind. So there's a lot of people who don't like that. They don't want to do 20 years to do a retirement. People complain about that, and then the bean counters fucking converted the active duty military to 401k type shit so that when they're investing in it, they can take it with them when they leave. But that's a good deal for the service. That's not a good deal for the service member. So, but that's an example of if you're in your late teens and your early 20s and you're doing what some of the younger generations are, they do van life, they do gig jobs, they do all this other shit, but they're not doing anything to give themselves some kind of retirement. And realize most of the retirements are going to be tied to the government because the government controls the dollar, and it may not be there when you get older. May not. But I can tell you one thing for fucking sure. If you don't buy into the system, then it's definitely not going to be fucking there. Okay? So just, I don't know. You need to figure it out. I mean, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be in the military and serve 2.5 decades almost and, retire and then move back into the civilian sector. But, so that's an example of people who get out. And then there's a number of officers who get out who also regret it because, life is different for you. When you get out of the military and you get fired, your pay stops and you have to go file for unemployment. And depending on how you were fired, then you may or may not qualify. And then, if you get in trouble in the military, you might lose a portion of a paycheck and some time, but your paycheck never stops. So, and then the other advantage for having a retirement is you're not beholden to a fucking job when you retire to like be dedicated, motivated and fucking like, yes, sir, I'll work all the fucking hours you want me to work. Because I can tell you the job I had, I could have had all the fucking overtime I wanted. They wanted me to work 7 days a week, and I'm like, I don't want nothing but my schedule. So just understand you're going to regret it when you get old. Because I'm guarantee you the system is going to change. It may collapse, but they're going to replace it with something because they can't have too many people who are unhappy. All right, because most of the people who vote are old people. So that's the first part of this video. The second part is we have a country with people who don't have any pride. They don't stand when the national anthem plays. They don't remove their hats. They don't cover their hearts. And even if you're a foreign national, you should still be respectful, because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't fucking like it if I acted like people I see act in their country if they're not from here. Doesn't matter. When service members are overseas and another country's anthem plays, we perform the correct courtesy to that anthem, even if it's not ours. Alright. So we have a generation who doesn't believe in the country anymore. We have a generation that has no pride in the country anymore. I can tell you after 9/11, there was definitely some people who joined the service who wanted to be a part of what was going to happen. And most of them regretted it. But they were there and they worked. So the second thing I would say is when you have a large portion of the country who's not willing to fight for it, I've done my time. I've been to war twice, and if I fight it, I'm hoping I'm so fucked up physically that they don't ever call my name again. But I will fight here if I need to. But the younger people, there's plenty of them because I've seen them, but most of them are country people. When I say country, I mean they live in the country and they know what cold weather is, and they know what back-breaking hard fucking work is. And these city slicker motherfuckers, boy. The people who can't fucking live without their phone, and oh my god, the internet, I can't get out on the internet, I can't see this, I can't see that, and the people who have no pride in the country and have no interest in melding into society, because most of those people don't understand. None of us bought into it, but the fact that we wanted a house, we wanted a car, we wanted stuff, that drives the train for making money, because you can't do anything to get that stuff without money. So I've done videos before where money is the devil on earth. It controls everything, every aspect of your life. Rich people get the absolute highest level of care. Poor people get the absolute lowest level of care. Because the doctor that's treating poor people is the doctor who couldn't go to work anywhere else. So you need to understand that. That's a part of that number system, and you're replaceable. So last night we had the first fire of the season. We're having a fire again tonight. We'll probably have a fire again tomorrow. So my wife is running in San Antonio, rock and roll. Excuse me, half marathon tomorrow. So because I've been dicking around with the van and working on her Jeep, her other alternator was supposed to come in. I didn't get called. So when we get done doing what we got to do tomorrow for her, then I may call and see if it's in. But tomorrow I've got to finish putting the van back to stock. But so I talked about the two things because I want to talk about this. If there is some kind of event that will try and pull us into a war. I can tell you for a fact you can't beat pride into somebody. You can't push your values and morals onto someone else. And there's a lot of people who quit or who don't care. And you can't make someone care. So I've had talks with young men, like high schoolers, and told them this. Basically, if you go to war, you'll be wearing an American flag, you'll be an American service member, but in the end, you're not fighting for anybody but the service member to your left, your right. If there's someone in front of you and someone behind you, wherever you're fighting at, that's who you're fighting for. Because if you take care of them, they take care of you. And then there's a better chance you all come home. So, I don't know what to say to get young people to care. You know, I know that in general, people are just shitty because well, let me rephrase that. Based on the driving habits here in San Antonio, there are a lot of people who are just fucking shitty. The traffic really doesn't change unless there's a wreck that shuts down a highway, and that's happening more and more often. But if there are people who are entitled, and I hate those people. Some of them are rich, and some of them are just fucking, it's my world, and you're just living in it. You know, the person who drives around 50 to 75 cars because they're in line to exit and goes all the way up to the front and then either forces their way in or squeezes in to a hole that opens up because somebody's not paying attention. So they get in, so they skip that. All right. Self-entitlement, you know. I've seen people in jogging and races where you got a lot of these people who are walking, you know, and there's 2 lanes, but they're spread out across both lanes, and you know, if you're walking, fuck turd, move to the right so the people who are running can get past your ass, and you know, they just don't care. And the I don't care attitude is going to kill this country. So we're hearing rumblings that Project 2025, and there's a growing momentum for them to kill VA disability benefits, and I'm not a fan of that because of personal reasons, but I think before they kill fucking VA disability benefits, they need to fucking kill welfare and food stamps, or at least put a time limit on it. You get this many weeks for your entire life, and then after that, you go find a fucking job. Because I guarantee there are some people who are on that shit that won't ever get a job. So, Democrats killed the poor people, broke up the poor families. So, do your homework and do your research on that statement. You can say I'm all fucked up, but that's a fact. Lyndon B. Johnson signed that shit. Beginning of the end. So, anyway. When man gets accepted, get picked up on fucking Monday, that's going to be $7,760 that will go in the bank, and then some more money, and I will pay off a credit card, and then I'll turn around promptly, put a couch on it for sure. And then I put a video out recently talking about the tariffs and what it's going to do to shit, so I got to decide if I'm going to pull the trigger on the vehicle. It's a large ticket item, but might not be the best idea in the world. But if I can't get my wife's Jeep running right, then I need something else for her to drive that's not my fucking Challenger. So it is what it is. Only saving grace is I can afford to buy another vehicle. So of course I just paid one off, but freeing up monthly payments to take on another one. Fucking American way, right? So there is a plethora of things that you need to keep your eye on. Nuclear war, I can tell you right now, the first tactical nuke that goes off anywhere in the world, the entire fucking civilian populace is going to freak the fuck out. So, if you haven't gotten your nuclear war medicine, the potassium, I think it's iodide, not iodine. Research that because I can't remember the fucking name. I've got tablets for me, but you might want to get some. And then I would say a dosimeter, only because you want to be able to tell, or one of those fucking radiation meters, the one that can read it. I say that because if there is widespread nuclear war, if you're not in the blast radius and you're not in the blast zone and you're not downwind where you have to survive the blast and the radiation that comes falling out of the sky, then if you need to move around, radiation is one of those things that is a silent and pretty awful way to die. So if you're rich and you bought a bunker and all that chemical shit, NBC gear, if you have it and you don't know how to use it, when you go in your bunker, you just went into your coffin. I'm just saying. I mean, buying that shit is a waste of money. So, because wherever you're at, if you need it, then you're fucked anyway. So, now the gas mask and the meter that you can tell if you're going into a radiated area, and the tablets, that's for if you survive, and those are probably a worthwhile investment. So that's one threat. And then you got the threat of 4 or 5 front war. You got Iran and Israel, China and Taiwan, Ukraine, Russia, South Korea, North Korea, Israel, and fucking Iran. I don't know if I said that one already, but we can't win. We can't fight and win 2 front war right now. There's a time when we could. We can't right now. So the other thing is, best case scenario for us to plus up the military, it would take 2 to 3 years to get as close to 1 million, because you have to learn how to be a service member, whether you're Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, or fucking Space Force. You know, being that doesn't happen overnight. And the other thing that doesn't happen overnight is when you start growing the force like that, you have to have senior leadership to manage it. There aren't enough. So they would have to recall retirees to do that shit. And I'm almost certain they would recall retirees to do some training. So that don't count weather threats. You know, we might have our first freeze down here in San Antonio next week. The revised weather says it's supposed to get 35. So anytime you get into the mid-30s, you need to prep everything for a freeze, because if you don't, you might have a light freeze wherever you're at that they don't predict, and then you're fucked because you have a broken pipe. So I am enjoying the fire right now. I am tired. Got up at 4:45 yesterday and got up at 4 today, and I'll be getting up at 4 tomorrow. So busy damn days these days. You know, the closer we get to January 20th, the worse it's going to be. And I'm not sure it'll get better afterwards. I would tell you, listen to City Preppings, one of his recent videos, 10 Things to Buy. He goes over some of the countries that are facing tariffs and some of the goods you may want to consider. You know, I basically already told you that, you know, if the tariffs come to pass, everything's going to get more expensive. So it is what it is. So do some long, hard, deep thinking if you got the money. So like he specifically mentioned solar generators for like whole house backup. So you know, basically everything that's solar generated is generators, batteries, solar panels, probably even the cables they're all made overseas. So basically, as soon as Trump gets in office, if he does that shit, then purchasing any of that is going to go up a lot. 100% tariff on the Blue Yeti AC 500 and the 2 batteries means the purchase goes from basically 4,300 and change with taxes to 9,000. So keep that in mind, and then they start doing tariff wars, or they start fucking, okay, I'm not gonna send you any medicine or anything. That's another thing that's an issue. If you're on life-saving medicine, then go through Jace and see if you can get a year's worth of your important shit, because they'll do it for a fee. They don't do controlled substances or narcotics, but they do everything else that I know of. So be prepared, folks. Be ready. We already know lack of electricity will kill people. I can tell you cold weather will kill people. People died in Texas during 21 degrees. So they didn't die from a disease. They died because they froze to fucking death. So this has been a long video, but you really need to think about what's going to happen. John at Prepper Nation talked about the conservative and patriot people, because most of the liberals are not fucking patriots. They're patriots with conditions. So they'll get called up, sent to war, go to the meat grinder. Many won't come home. So, and that leaves all the libertards and fucking rainbow fucks back here to do whatever the fuck they want. So realize, and without none of that happening, we have a deficit that is too high, that we can't pay back, and because we can't pay it back, eventually it's going to cause a collapse. So I listened to a short video with that dickhead who fed Carrier, I think his name's Jerome Paul, where he's like, we're okay with debt. I'm like, how the fuck are we okay with debt? So bad times are coming. Look at what's important to you and make appropriate decisions. Information is knowledge, and power. Little Prepper Lodge. Prepper out.